Welcome back to the Goal2Go podcast, man. Episode 41. NBA Conference Finals right upon us, man. Lakers, Nuggets get started tonight. Heat, Celtics get going tomorrow, man. Obviously, Nuggets starting off at home. Same for the Celtics. Both the higher seeds in this scenario. And we got a rematch of the 2020 Conference Finals right upon us. Lakers won that. Heat won that. Lakers won and ended up going to win the chip. So take a look this season, see if we get a different outcome. What's going on? We're gonna break down those conference semifinals. You know, the losing teams between the Sixers and the Suns. Some expected moves possibly this offseason. Gonna talk hot or not, and then obviously conference finals, our predictions, what we like, what we don't like for this series. So starting it off, man. You want to start me off with your hot or not?
Yeah, we can get right into it. All right, so hot or not, Kevin Durant's career is pretty much like over with. His like legacy is already set in stone.
I'm going to say that's just a little bit of a hot take. I get where you're coming from. His legacy, I don't think his legacy will ever be what he wants it to be, considering the fact, you know, OKC, they got beat when they were up 3-1, then went to the Warriors, won a chip. He went to the Nets, tried to build a super team there, demanded out this season, went to the Suns. So I don't really think his legacy is ever going to be like one of the top 10 players of all time. But Kevin Durant's one of the greatest scorers in our generation. Slender man, he's the first one to do it from almost a 7-foot build, could handle the ball, could shoot. Now, legacy-wise, will he be remembered 25, 30 years? Will the new generation know about him? Probably not, man. But I think his legacy in stone, I've kind of always known what it is. He's not a LeBron legacy. He's not a Curry legacy. Those two guys, different categories. I don't even think he's up there with Giannis because Giannis went out, did it with the Bucks. So I do think, you know, when it comes to that, yeah, his legacy might be set in stone already. We've kind of been set in stone since he went to the Warriors, in my opinion.
I feel it. It's weird just because like how everything has gone, like especially how he's tried like multiple times to like do things his own way, and like every single time he's tried to do it his own way, it just hasn't worked. And the one time where it wasn't his own way, you know, and it was the Warriors' way and Curry's team, it worked out. He won 2 rings, so it'll be interesting how Kevin Durant's remembered for sure.
Yeah, especially the fact that, you know, when he was in OKC, he was so young. They went to the finals, took game 1 from the Heat when they were in the finals, then dropped the next 4. Regardless of the fact, you know, that move to the Warriors, I mean, I saw someone wearing KDs and they were like, I got the snakes on. Like, the joke's never dead, bro. So it is what it is. I mean, KD, still one of the best scorers. I think Devin Booker tweeted out he was like, 36 running it back next year or something like that. Meaning him.
I saw that tweet, yeah.
Him and KD, 35 plus 1. So we're going to see.
And then did you see the Australian League team? They lost to in the preseason, like retweeted their score.
Nah.
Yeah, they lost to like some Australian team in the preseason. Right? Remember, like when Devin Book tweeted that, that team just like replied and just put their score, bro.
What? Because did they beat the Suns?
Yeah, in the preseason.
Yeah, I think I remember something like that. That's actually pretty funny. Hey, they might as well get
some Australian team. I don't know.
Yeah. They might as well play Puerto Rico and Boogie.
Yeah.
I saw
Dwight in Taiwan recruiting everyone.
I saw someone else though. They were hooping in Puerto Rico. Was it like Brandon Knight? It was somebody, bro.
Probably. Shit, everybody over there now.
He was out there, he dropped like 35 on 65% or something. Something crazy. You got any more comments before I ask you yours?
Nah, that's pretty much it. Just Katie's legacy question.
Yeah, it's a fat question mark. So hot or not, both conference finals series will go 7 games.
I I don't think that's a hot take. Just because I think both of these teams match up pretty well, and I can see both of these games going to 7. You look at it, we'll talk about it on the Lakers and Nuggets side. They end up playing tonight, where you got Nikola Jokic, who's been the best player throughout the playoffs, triple doubles left and right. He's got those guys playing very, very well. But you look at it, played the Minnesota Timberwolves round 1. They're the 8th seed. Not that good. Well, they're good enough to make the playoffs, but, in terms of playoff teams, not really that good. And then the Phoenix Suns, who are just Devin Booker and KD. Once you get past them, there wasn't really anything else. They're going to be facing a real Lakers team who's just seen every round have gotten better and better. Defensively, this is going to be something like they haven't seen yet in the playoffs. It's a LeBron playoff series. It's going to be on the biggest stage, so it's going to be interesting to see how those role players step up. They've been playing well, but nowhere near on this big of a stage, so that's going to be a really fun competitive series. And then, we got the good old Heat versus Celtics series. You know how those always go Game 7. I think both teams have certain advantages in certain places, and we'll talk about that when we cover the games and, stuff like that. So I think both teams will be able to use those advantages and win games throughout the series, and ultimately it can come down to a Game 7. So I don't think it's a hot take saying that at all, because, all 4 of these teams that are left, they're really good teams and all have, they all do something really, really well, and it'll be interesting.
If you had to rank these 4 teams, one through 4, one being the best, how would you rank them in your opinion?
In terms of odds, I think to win the title, or skill wise,
odds to win the title.
Well, I'm not Vegas, but me personally, off the top of my head right now, I would say Lakers. Then I would say Celtics. Then I go Heat and then Nuggets.
Okay. I only asked that because I saw a number. I think the Nuggets are 52% to win it all and beat the Lakers. I think the Lakers are 42% to beat the Nuggets. And then I think to win it all, they gave the Celtics have the best odds to win it all.
Yeah, the Heat are 15-1, bro.
Yeah, they gave them a 3% chance. I think
it's just crazy.
Placed the bet on Bovada, bro. They were plus 2,500 to win it all.
Yeah.
So I threw a little change just on the inevitable that might happen.
I think we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
I'm not mad at your rankings at all. I think they're pretty decent. But there was a big gap with the Heat and the 3 other teams. So
no, I think it's a lot closer with the Heat.
We'll get into it for sure. Right now we got Lakers Nuggets tip off about an hour away, man. I don't even know the Nuggets arena. I was about to say Crypto Arena, but not in LA. They're getting it kicked off, man. You mentioned Ball Arena. That's what it's called. No idea why. But you mentioned those role players, man. Between, Gordon and Porter, those guys are going to be stepping up. Jamal Murray, not really a role player. He needs to produce in a series like this. Jokic is going to produce. Who do you think is going to be that key factor for the Nuggets in this series? Is it going to be, Porter? Is it going to be someone off the bench for him?
Well, I don't think there's going to have to be one key player. I think everyone's going to have to step up and, produce. Because like we mentioned, I'm not worried about Jokic. Jokic is going to do what he does. He's going to give you 25 to 30 and I damn near triple-double. It's going to come, to those bench guys who've been very well, the others. Jamal Murray, you just said he's not a role player. I think he's like a step up above a role player. But if we go with all the teams left, the 1s and 2s, I think he's probably the worst 2 left. So you would have to.
I'd go to who's the Heat 2? Bam?
Yeah. Bam brings more defensively.
Yeah, he does bring more defensively.
And at times, you could run the offense through him.
You could. It's been looking up for Bam. I ain't saying anything because sometimes every time I buy in, he disappoints me. So
And then Jaylen Brown and Anthony Davis, we obviously know how good they are. So I think I personally would say Jamal Murray is the fourth best, number 2. So I mean, I think they're gonna have to play really good collective basketball. But the one key or whatever or matchup I think is gonna be important for Denver is, I think it's gonna be Aaron Gordon, and I think he's gonna be the one guarding LeBron. So I think it's gonna be a very big task for him. I mean, so far, kind of how we talked about, the Nuggets haven't faced anything defensively like the Lakers. LeBron hasn't really gone up against anyone, as big or as athletic as Aaron Gordon is far in the series. And I think the Denver Nuggets will try to throw him at LeBron, make LeBron work, kind of tire him out because, Aaron Gordon is a physical big guy. So, I mean, the Grizzlies, who they have guarding LeBron, like Dylan Brooks, fucking Xavier Tillman. And then the Warriors, I mean, Draymond's not guarding LeBron. It's his fucking best friend, his big brother. I think that was the quote or whatever. So, like, after that, like, Wiggins, he had cracked ribs or something. So, LeBron hasn't had, the toughest matchups yet. So, I think this will be one of, if not the toughest matchup for LeBron. But it is LeBron James. I do think he'll be able to handle it. It'll just be very interesting to see how, LeBron at this age in the Western Conference Finals, they've been playing a lot of games back to back, how he kind of deals with Aaron Gordon, what should be a more physical basketball game.
Yeah, you mentioned Wiggins, more of a perimeter guy. Aaron Gordon got a little more weight onto him.
Yeah.
So not really bully ball per se for LeBron.
Yeah, because in that Warriors series, I mean, LeBron was just living in the paint.
Yeah.
Man. Anything he wanted, turnaround jumpers, driving to the rack, finishing with, both hands. So I think Aaron Gordon will make it a little more difficult. But, I mean, when we talk about the Lakers, I think LeBron will be all right.
So I'm looking at most three-pointers this playoffs, remaining players only, obviously. Jamal Murray's third on our list. He got 32. The whole list is Celtics and Nuggets players. So living or dying at the 3, man, in these upcoming series. Tatum with 42. Next closest, Jaylen Brown. Brogdon's on that list. Marcus Smart. Michael Porter, who's clearly seeing red when he touches the ball. And then Derek White. He's the last one on the list. I also see a stat. Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic are the 2 biggest playoff risers in NBA history. If you look at regular season numbers, Jamal Murray is plus 7.8 when it comes to the playoffs. How many points per game he averages? Averages 16.9 regular season, 24.7 in the playoffs. Jokic averages 20.2 and then 27.2 in the playoffs. And then Jalen Brunson, he's also on that list. He had a plus 6.5 differential in the playoffs. So I think it's interesting to see what these 2 teams, and I do think Jamal Murray is a star. Question is he going to rise to the occasion? Western Conference Finals. Lights, they're on bright, man, especially playing against the Lakers, the media coverage. And speaking of role players, I mean, the Lakers, they're going to need some help too. Is AD going to give you that 30 and 20 every game? We'll see.
Against the Nuggets, I don't think you're going to need that. I think Anthony Davis is going to just have to, just focus on defense,
just
bro.
Play some defense.
I just want him
Jokic.
to do as much as possible on trying to stop Jokic. And then I think what'll end up happening is, LeBron will be the one running the offense this series. And we kind of saw, in Game 6 where he took over and kind of looked like, vintage LeBron. The things he was doing, the way he was finding those mismatches, hunting the matchups that they liked. Down the stretch we saw Reeves kind of attacking Jordan Poole, getting him in foul trouble early, looking for Curry on those switches, looking for Klay Thompson, who isn't, the same defender as he used to be. You saw what Lonnie Walker did to Curry in, Game 4 down the stretch. So right now, if you look at the Denver Nuggets, they don't really have any, elite perimeter defenders, no, true, real ball stoppers. So I think LeBron will do his best to kind of find those mismatches and make, Jamal Murray, who's a really, really good offensive player, make him work on defense. Michael Porter Jr., you're 7 foot. Do you want to guard the perimeter? Do you want to play defense? We know he really doesn't. He just wants to shoot. So I think they kind of, find the advantages there. Rui Hachimura, maybe this is a series he gets going again. Kind of, take advantage of Michael Porter, who's a little softer. He's a bigger guy. Do things to kind of find those mismatches. LeBron, he'll always look for the switch, and then just have Anthony Davis just focus as much as possible on trying to contain Jokic because you're not going to stop him. So just do your best containing him. And, the Lakers have guys like Austin Reeves who can create his own shot, really good at getting contact in the paint, getting to the line. D'Angelo Russell, if it's a game he's got going, he can easily create his shot. So I think the Lakers will try to do their best to make those guys on Denver, those role players, kind of play both ways because we know they can score the ball. We know Jokic is going to give them open looks and make offense as easy as possible. So can the Lakers make defense as hard as possible for those guys? Because for the Suns, they was not at all. Like if you can stop Devin Booker or KD or just let them, run themselves into the ground, there was really no one else to kind of do anything. No one else that could create shots. So I think it'll be a really, really fun series.
Yeah.
In terms of matchup wise, I think it'll be a big matchup series. Like in terms of, people the Lakers in terms of trying to find the matchups they like on offense, exploiting those guys on the perimeter, and then what the Nuggets do matchup wise on offense. Jokic is gonna find everybody and put them in every single place they need to be to score. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, Jokic is a matchup nightmare for anybody.
Anybody,
it really doesn't matter who you're playing or what's going on. But I like what you said about just being matchups, finding a mismatch, the switches, which team is either going to go. You might see a little bit of zone defense take place in this series. I don't think either team really goes to it too often. But
I don't know how I feel about running the zone against Jokic.
No, it's not. But it's not going to be like a whole game type thing. Just show different looks.
I see what
kind of get them out of rhythm. Because you're not going to be able to guard him one-on-one. I mean, you're going to be asking AD to do that all game. Tough task. Mm-hmm. He's going to be tired. So it really is going to come down to, I think, who's going to adjust better to these, both coaches. I think they're coming in with a game plan. Coach LeBron, because he basically is a coach at this point. Like, pretty sure he runs that whole offense.
Yeah, but I think Darvin Ham has been really good with adjustments this far this postseason. We saw what he did against the Warriors and against the Nuggets, and I think what they do really well, and especially Darvin Ham, is he's not afraid to pull players. Like we saw in round one, Rui had a really good series against Memphis. He was eating. I think he had 31 games or something like that. But round two, against the Warriors, where the matchups weren't really favorable and they weren't really running that many bigs, we rarely saw Rui. Darvin Ham was able to, kind of figure out that, okay, we don't need you that much in this series. We're going to go to the other guys. That's where we saw people like Lonnie Walker step up. Those dudes that could create the shots more off the dribble and kind of exploit the weak defense or the perimeter defenders the Warriors had. So I think Darvin Ham has done a really, really good job on the fly, finding those matchups and, finding the players that have worked for them so far in the series. And I think he'll continue to figure it out against the Nuggets.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking at this. Back to the 2020, I mean, you got a rematch of Nuggets-Lakers. That one, I think, was a little bit easier for the Lakers in a sense than this one is. Both teams getting back to it full season. This is what the media loves, especially debacling those bubble finals, stuff like that. But I really do think that this series does go 7 games between the Nuggets and the Lakers. And I do think it's going to come down to simply LeBron James versus Nikola Jokic in the end. I mean, the two best players on the court, both MVPs. LeBron, back end of his career. I mean, back end, you say whatever you want. But I think LeBron's got a chip on his shoulder, and I do think the Lakers pulled off in 7 against the Nuggets, and they win game 7 on the road as well. I don't know if you have a prediction, but
yeah, I think it'll probably go 7 as well, and I do have the Lakers too. I think it'll come to the point where I don't know how reliant you can be on guys like Michael Porter Jr. and Bruce Brown and Aaron Gordon to kind of hold up against the Lakers for that long. I know like Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, they'll do their things, but outside of that, I just think the Lakers have more depth and more people that have shown to step up on the biggest platform. Because you got to imagine, like I said, playing with LeBron James, every single playoff game you play is the biggest game. Like it just gets bigger and bigger. And we saw, in Game 6 against the Warriors, Austin Reeves stepped up. He had a huge game. Game 4, Lonnie Walker, when it mattered the most, 15 points in the fourth quarter. We've seen these guys step up in the biggest moments. Have we really seen anyone else on the Nuggets step up in the big moments? Like KCP, he played with the Lakers on a big moment, but it was the bubble. Wasn't really the same. I mean, like I said, Michael Porter Jr., Bruce Brown, like these guys are really good players, but we just haven't seen them in the big moments. And I just think, with LeBron James, he's seen it all in the NBA. Anthony Davis was a lot more consistent last series against the Warriors. I just think the Lakers are kind of getting better every single series, and I think they're trending in the right direction. But I can clearly see, the Nuggets winning in 6 or 7 too. Those guys get it going. They step up. Michael Porter Jr. hits some big shots. Jokic is just unstoppable. Jamal Murray gets it going, and they just outscore the Lakers. I can definitely see that happen. But I think the Lakers, in their experience, they step up, and LeBron kind of puts his Superman cape on and carries them this series.
You don't think the actual Superman's going to be recruiting LeBron to Taiwan?
I don't think so. Nah.
Speaking of which, kind of talked about KD's legacy. Rumors for World, CP3, DeAndre Ayton, looking to be they're heavily in trade talks of moving those two guys this offseason.
Yeah.
What do you think? Kind of the answer is for the Suns? Is it, just dump those two guys and get the best return you possibly can? Like, where do
the
you
Suns,
go?
I think they're in a very, very, very tough spot right now. They're like at a crossroads where they can go either way. I don't know if either way is going to lead to a title, but it's just tough, because you got Matt Ishbia, the new owner that just bought the team and traded for Kevin Durant. Now he fired Monty Williams, and apparently Devin Booker and Kevin Durant were kind of, in the say where that they didn't want to play with him anymore. Kind of got the coach out of there. So I don't know, man. They just need more like reliable players, and it's tough when you have DeAndre Ayton on that contract. Chris Paul, I don't know who you move them for or what pieces you get, but you just need more players that are reliable. Now, what coach comes in, I'm not too sure. This is kind of, like Kevin Durant's thing is like KD a coach killer now. Like he brings these guys in, gets them out. You saw they wanted Steve Nash in Brooklyn. Then, no, we don't want Steve Nash anymore. Get him fired. I mean, obviously he worked in Golden State because Steve Kerr, everything they got going on there. But it's just weird. Now they get Monty Williams out of there. So I think with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, we saw in the playoffs, they're a great fit. They're going to score a bunch of points at a very, very high rate. It's just around those guys like that, two players that can create their shot. They don't really need a true point guard like Chris Paul because they're going to get their own shots regardless. So I just think they need a bunch of just really solid defenders and people that can hit open shots. Now, like we mentioned, me and you say all the time, everybody can use that. That's like the most valuable player in the league right now.
Dorian Finney-Smith.
Yeah, they can use a bunch of guys like
PJ Tucker. I mean, they had Jay Crowder.
They can use a bunch of guys like Miles Bridges and Cam Johnson, guys they traded away to get Kevin Durant. Those are the perfect fit. But I don't know. I mean, are you going to be able to find anyone to get on that Ayton contract? Like, I know it's tough. There'll probably be a team out there. I was making a joke with my boys, like, sending to Detroit where, all the centers that had a bunch of potential just go to die. Like, James Wiseman's there. They got, who was the dude that tried to fight LeBron? Isaiah Stewart.
Oh, yeah, Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah, they got, who else? There's another one. There's just a bunch of, like, random big men in Detroit. I don't know. Marvin Bagley. Yeah, Marvin Bagley's there, too, I think. Like, so, I don't know.
What, did Jahlil Okafor play for the Pistons, too, at one point?
I don't know. I know he was drafted by the Sixers, but I don't know about the Pistons. Probably. But, I mean, does he go to, like, the Charlotte? Like, I don't know. It's just I don't really know any like great fits for DeAndre Ayton. So it'll be interesting, but the Suns are in a weird place. I don't know if championship is gonna be on their horizon, just the way things are shaping out and all the teams and how good the West is, but they definitely got to do some, some self-evaluating, some looking in the mirror and kind of figuring things out on the inside, because right now, I mean, Devin Booker just had one of the greatest stretches in the playoff history. Kevin, the greatest stretch of his playoff career easily, maybe in his entire career. Kevin Durant was scoring the ball too, and you got rolled in the second round. Like, you clearly need more than just those two guys.
Okafor did play for the Pistons 1 year. And This was last year in the NBA.
Makes sense.
2021. Before he went and played it with the Zhejiang Lions. And now he's playing in Mexico. So from China to Mexico for Jahlil Okafor. After playing with the Pistons. He went to the Nets, Pels, and then the Pistons before he was done at the NBA in just 5 years. So I guess that's really where big men go to die. Yeah, with the Suns, I mean, just get rid of Ayton. I don't know if you could just cut Jit or something like. You just get him off your roster. He's clearly shown he's got no heart in it, real no effort. So I mean, it's time. If they stayed with Chris Paul, I'm not saying they obviously want to, but like if they were stuck with Chris Paul, I'd rather be stuck with Chris Paul than DeAndre Ayton at this point. Just at least Chris Paul's gonna give it if he's on the court.
Yeah, but I mean he's
not on the court
in the twilight of his career right now.
Yeah. And then the Sixers, a lot of rumors surrounding Harden. Embiid, what's going on there?
Yeah, they're saying
to the Rockets.
Harden might be joining Kevin Durant and Devin Booker in Phoenix. That's what KD's pushing for, apparently.
I did see that as well.
Which is stupid. You don't need another superstar. You need dudes that can play defense and hit shots.
But
yeah, let's talk about the Sixers, man. And your beloved James Harden saying all this stuff. How
he is more important to the Sixers than Joel Embiid. I mean. You clearly saw it there. Joel Embiid was... at least James Harden gave them, 2 games. Embiid gave them nothing. I guess he gave them 1. But Joel Embiid...
Well, he was injured in the first.
Yeah.
He missed the first game.
He did. But Joel Embiid, you get that MVP trophy. You finally check it off your list. And he was laughing and smiling after they lost Game 7. He did not care. He was joking. He made the Giannis quote. I don't know, man. After not being in the conference finals all those years, James Harden for sure sucked. I did see a stat where in games, 5, 6, and 7 in the fourth quarter, Ben Simmons outscored James Harden the last time he was on the Sixers in the fourth quarter.
I think I sent that to you.
Did you? I saw that and I was like, this is crazy. So, I mean, James Harden... He's known to kind of shell away from that big game. I mean, you saw it in Houston. They couldn't hit a 3. They hit 1 3. Maybe they're, sitting with CP3 and James Harden have a ring together. But nonetheless, you can say the same for if Kawhi, the rim was bouncing, a little more bounce that day against the Sixers when Kawhi hit that shot. Joel Embiid would have been in the conference finals. I mean, a lot of ifs, ands, or buts. Down the stretch, Doc Rivers, he's never been the one to make adjustments in a game. Players have constantly said that. He's a player's coach, so, he's a motivator. He doesn't make those in-game adjustments. James Harden and Joel Embiid did not have it going. Adjustments weren't made. And then in Game 6, when Tatum was nowhere to be found for the first, 36 minutes of the game, you're still down. You're still down 7. And he's basically a non-factor, and then all he has to do is have a torching hot fourth quarter. They run away with it. Momentum. Tatum carries that to Game 7, and now you have no game plan for it. I mean, if you're down 7 at the end of the third quarter in that Game 6, and you don't make an adjustment when Tatum just took the ball basically out of everyone else's hands in the fourth quarter, And you said this is what we're gonna live or die by, not make a change.
And was basically hunting Joel Embiid.
Yeah, it made him pay. I mean, Joel Embiid, he can't guard the perimeter. He's too slow. And you see it, the offense, a lot slower when Embiid came back versus that first game with Harden. It was outlet passes, pushing the tempo.
Well, yeah, but Harden's real. You know what Harden wants. Harden wants to slow the ball down as well. Like that's how he plays. ISO, everyone clear out.
He could push the clock. He could push the ball too. I mean, I know what you're saying, but Harden, he could push the tempo, bro. He's a guy. He was hitting Maxey on those outlet passes.
They just looked like they didn't want to push the tempo, like regardless. Like
I think it's because when Embiid's on the court, he's not good when you're pushing the tempo. Like,
but against the Celtics, that's a team you don't really like. They can run, bro. Like they got a bunch of guards and dudes on the court that could run with you if you want to push the tempo. So I know it worked in game 1. And, Harden had a really good game, but I don't think that's like a real way to beat the Celtics. I don't think they would have had any real success with that. Because if they have Tatum, Jaylen Brown out there at the forwards, and then you put Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon in, like. All those dudes can run. Grant Williams, he's a wing defender. Al Horford, he's the only old one. He's not gonna run. He's a big man. But even Time Lord, he's a big man, but he's still very athletic and he can run up and down the court as well. So I don't think that Harden pushing the ball like it would have been like a real like sustainable success against the Celtics. Like if the Miami Heat win, I guarantee you they don't want to push the ball against the Boston Celtics and get out in transition.
I mean, that's what the Heat do. I mean, they have to push it because the Heat aren't a half-court offense. You're going to have to push the ball. I mean, fast breaks are easy buckets compared to getting set in a half-court offense. I think you'll see it. Kevin Love outlet passes. We'll see if Kevin Love plays a lot, though. I mean, you named a lot of athletic guys. Tyrese Maxey, one of the best open court players there is.
Yeah, and who else?
I mean,
on the Sixers.
Just Harden.
Exactly, bro.
But that's all you need. I mean,
so James Harden and Maxey were going to beat the Celtics by themselves.
I'm not saying
throwing the ball in the entire court.
But clearly that half court says they were not working at all.
And that's Philly's bread and butter, bro. That's how they got there.
Like, sometimes you're going to have to make adjustments. You got to make adjustments.
It's hard because
Doc Rivers has never made an adjustment in his life.
That 76ers team was not built for that, bro. They were built for that two-man Harden and Embiid game. And when it didn't work, like, I know you want to talk about adjustments, but, like, bro, what else do they go to, bro? Like, there's nothing else they have. Their team's not built for that. They don't have the options, you feel me? So when that doesn't work, it's kind of like, and you saw, like, in that Game 7 where they were playing the Celtics, bro, they went, like 8 minutes or some crazy shit like that without scoring a basket. Like, they didn't score the ball at all in the third quarter. I think they had like 10 points or something like that. And that just shows like kind of when the Celtics were like, okay, let's actually play like we want to win this game. And they stopped the 76ers. The 76ers kind of looked like deer in headlights. They didn't have anything to go to, bro. Like, they were relying on, who was it, Mellon to hit shots. Like, he wasn't hitting. PJ Tucker came down to earth after his 11 points in the first quarter. Like, I mean, Tobias Harris couldn't get it going. Like, these are guys where...
Nah, Tobias Harris just needs to go at this point, man.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, you stop Harden and B, like, you're going to rely on Maxey chucking up threes and running up and down the court. Like, it's tough, bro.
I'll take Maxey over Tobias Harris.
Well, I understand, but I understand that, but I'm saying...
No, like, it's not going to win you a series.
Exactly.
I get what you're saying, but... Obviously, I've been seeing that clip, Tobias Harris over me, which leads us to the Miami Heat, man, versus the Boston Celtics in a rematch of 2020 and last year's Eastern Conference Finals. That went 7 games. I know notable plays for the Heat 2020. Bam's little block on Tatum in the bubble at the rim. And then, obviously, 2022, Jimmy Butler pulling that transition 3 in a 2-point game. Obviously, front rimming it.
13-point deficit comeback under 2 minutes.
What was that, Game 6?
That was Game 7.
Was it?
Yeah, didn't they go 7? Because the Heat were the 1 seed last year, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Game 7 was in Miami.
Well, yeah, it was. And then Game 6, though, they came back.
No, when Jimmy pulled the 3?
That was Game 7.
Yeah, I know. They were down 13 points in 2 minutes, weren't they?
At
the end of the game, I'm pretty sure. They were down, I know, and they came back, and then Jimmy could have hit that three.
Actually, I think he just went stupid just single-handedly. Because
Mm-hmm.
I remember, bro, like, he had nothing left in the tank. I understand why he pulled that three, man, because he had nothing left.
That's how you felt that one night on 2K, huh, fam? Just couldn't go to overtime, double OT.
Bro, it was like a double OT, and like, what, the Heat game was starting or something. Like, I had to leave. I don't know what it was, but I had to actually do something. I was not playing a triple OT when the Heat playoff game was on. Like, bro, it's just time to end it. Win or go home. But I'm looking at the numbers. Other than Jimmy and Bam, no one else on the Heat averaged more than 10 points that series. Celtics had four players, Tatum, Brown, Smart, and Derek White. And then Al Horford, 9.8. Robert Williams, my opinion, he was the X factor in that series. Him and freaking Grant Williams, bro, who shot 40% from three in that series. So this one, I'm expecting a lot the same, man. Robert Williams, definitely going to be on the court. Just such a paint presence. He really shut down Jimmy when he came to the hole in last year's playoffs. So him being healthy, expect Rob Will in that paint. I expect Jimmy to get to that mid-range jumper, get in his bag. I also want to see Bam kind of get to that mid-range, really stretch him out. Make sure you could get Rob Williams off the court to where they have to go to Al Horford. Now, Al Horford could kill you with that floor spacing, but I'd rather have him. It's easier buckets inside versus Horford than against Rob Will. And then just for Jimmy and the role players to step up, I mean, we talk about it. Which role players are going to step up? The Celtics, Derek White. You got Grant Williams. You probably see more of the series. Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they're going to get their 20-plus any given night. Question is Marcus Smart, Grant Williams, Derek White, Al Horford, Rob Will. Those guys, I think it's really going to come down to can the Heat grab a rebound and stop those second chance points for the Celtics. If they have Rob Will on the court, they're a much bigger team even without Rob Will on the court. I mean, they're still bigger. I think Bam's the same height as like Tatum, and Tatum's not a center. So it's really going to come down to those second chance points. If the Heat can rebound, I think they can win this series. Bias pick, Heat in 6. So
I think this series is only going to come down to two things, really, and these two things are really all that's going to matter. And those two things are coaching and talent. And I think it's just going to be both teams have an advantage in one of those, and whichever team exploits those better is the one that's going to win the series. Now, with the Heat, we know they have the easily advantage in coaching. Eric Spoelstra probably, arguably the best coach in the league, definitely the best coach left in the postseason. Has all the experience, has those guys playing really hard. We saw what he did against the Knicks and how he kind of made Julius Randle and RJ Barrett just crumble and become non-factors and just made one player kind of in Jalen Brunson go all out to beat him. And obviously it didn't work. So I think, the matchups and what Eric Spoelstra kind of figures out and, the ways he finds to limit, I don't think he'll be able to limit Jason Tatum completely, but find ways to kind of, make Jaylen Brown less impactful, kind of make, guys like Robert Williams, Al Horford, make sure he doesn't get those open looks. Those role players, kind of make sure they don't get going as much and just make it all on Jason Tatum. I think Eric Spoelstra will definitely outcoach Mazzulla. But on the flip side, if you look at that Celtics roster compared to the Heat roster, like if you just cross out the two top guys in Tatum and Brown and they eliminate Jimmy and Bam, like if you go down, like who's the Heat's number 3 guy at this point? Like is it Lowry? Like Caleb Martin? Like who would you say?
Every given night, man.
Exactly. Like if you just go down that roster, like Malcolm Brogdon, Marcus Smart, like Derek White, like all of these guys. I mean, even Grant Williams, he doesn't even play that much anymore. But would you still take him over the Heat's 3rd guy? Like Al Horford, if he's open, he's hitting those threes and he's playing really good defense. Like what Robert Williams brings, like that the talent on that Boston Celtics team is they're probably the most talented roster left in the playoff. So can their talent overcome the coaching? Can Malcolm Brogdon knock down those open shots? Can Marcus Smart play really good defense and bring that toughness and kind of overcome those matchups? Can Derek White get it going and, create his shot off the dribble? He knocked down an open jump shot as well. So I think it'll just come down to, can Eric Spoelstra, just completely just dismantle Missoula and that Celtics, strategy and completely overpower them? Or is that Celtics roster just too good talent-wise, and are they going to make the Miami Heat look like the undrafted team they are? I think that's what it's just really going to come down to, and I think it'll be very interesting to see which one plays out. But I agree with you. I agree. Coaching over talent. Give me the Heat culture. I think the Heat end up winning it in 7.
In 7 on the road?
On the road, yeah.
That's tough. That's tough.
But also, I mean, if I'm picking the 7th-game series, it can go either way.
Yeah. I think the Heat are going to also, one thing is just the little things. Like, obviously, when a team has so much more talent, the coaching, the detail, the little things, limit those turnovers, get those easy transition buckets when you can, and just force, you kind of talked on it, like you didn't really say it, just make the Celtics uncomfortable. Like, just make them uncomfortable, make them plays that they're not used to, playing. Like, force them to make that extra pass when Jaylen Brown, you don't want to leave Malcolm Brogdon open for a wing 3, but it's something you might have to do. Just do the little things. Don't let them go on big runs. Limit turnovers, and second chance points. The little things. So I think it's definitely, you touched on it well when it came to coaching. Just execute those little things, get the job done, one game at a time. Jimmy's going to have to turn up at some point. If Lowry keeps doing what he does on the defensive side of things, I mean, he's came up with some huge momentum steals late in games that really changed the course of a game, not just one game. It leads it up to being a series as a whole. But, yeah, just don't hesitate, make the right read, and then trust those guys next to you. And I think the Heat have a legit chance of getting redemption. Jimmy, I watched a clip of his press conference last year. He was like, we're going to be right back in the same spot, different result next year. So,
and throughout this playoffs, you've kind of seen the Celtics be a team to play with their food or not kind of play down to the competition. It's there's no way the Hawks should have took the Celtics team to 6 games. They should have easily beat the 76ers in less than 7. I mean, without Embiid, the first game, you saw them kind of get shocked in game 1 against the Sixers. And then, Trae Young hit that big shot. They lost a few games at home this playoff series because they weren't really, playing up to their talent level. Jason Tatum's kind of had a rocky, playoff series. He's had some very high highs, but he's also had some pretty low valleys as well. Whereas, not like you mentioned, not scoring the ball in 3 quarters, starting 1 for 14, 1 for, not having good shooting games. But then, we saw what he's able to do in that fourth quarter in Game 6 and then take over in Game 7. But like we mentioned, that Miami Heat, that coaching, this is a team, if you don't play your A game, if you kind of, if Jason Tatum goes 1 for 14 a game, the Heat is a team that's going to make him pay. Eric Spoelstra is going to find ways to, if your best player isn't playing good, I don't think against the Miami Heat, Jason Tatum can have a slow start like that and then turn up in the fourth quarter. I just think, that defense and the way Eric Spoelstra coaches, they're going to just do everything to deflate Tatum. Now, if he comes out hot in that first quarter and gets going, it's going to be hard to stop him just because of how good of a player he is. So the Miami Heat, like you mentioned, off the turnovers, off those hustle plays, doing the little things right. The Celtics come out sloppy, not really on their A game. The Heat is a team, unlike the Hawks or unlike the 76ers, where they're going to make you pay. You can't go 3 quarters with playing horrible basketball against the Miami Heat and expect to just flip a switch and turn it on. That's just not the kind of team the Miami Heat are. So I think, if the Boston Celtics come out and really play, I can see a world where this game goes 5, or the series goes 5 to 6 games and the Celtics just dominate. But that's just not who they have been this entire playoff series. So I think the Miami Heat will definitely take advantage of the Celtics, if they come out, kind of sloppy. Like we mentioned, their coaching, Missoula, he's just looked, and you talk about adjustments. There's been times where he just hasn't adjusted at all.
Or called a timeout.
Yeah, not using the timeouts. Just so you can just see that coaching come into play and they just get completely out-schemed, out-hustled, out-hearted, in those games. They just end up losing because the Miami Heat, they're gonna give everything they got.
The one thing is, you mentioned if Tatum's like 1 for 13, the Heat will make him pay. The only thing is, if he's 1 for 13, you got to worry about another guy like Jaylen Brown. As where the Heat, you kind of got Jimmy Butler 1 for 13. It's going to take the rest of the team to kind of pick up that slack. Versus the Celtics, they can, maybe lean on Jaylen Brown to keep it a 8-9 point game to where, they still might have a striking distance to where Tatum gets hot. Now we're cooking and got a ball game. So that's what makes,
but I mean,
the Celtics scary. They got better scoring out.
Even for you, like if I told you Jason Tatum's 1 for 13 in the first 3 quarters, like bro, you're ecstatic, bro. You're like, bro, what? Like let anybody else but Tatum.
Jaylen Brown have less than 30 too.
Yeah, like I mean, like you feel like you would rather have Jaylen Brown try to go get 30 than Tatum, in my opinion.
I mean, it's almost the same.
But regardless, like if you look on the other side, Jimmy Butler, I think he'll have a very, very big series against the Knicks. He had that ankle injury. It kind of looked like he was just coasting, bro. Like he didn't really have to do too much against the Knicks, but against the Celtics, I think you'll end up seeing playoff Jimmy sooner rather than later because it's definitely gonna take his all to beat these Boston Celtics.
I think we see another like bubble-esque pitcher from Jimmy this series. Like
he's gonna be playing a lot of minutes.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see, man. I can't wait. Game 1 tomorrow for Heat and Celtics. Game 1, obviously, about 30 minutes away from tip, which your little late show Denver Nuggets game.
I think the draft lottery is actually starting today.
It is at 8. So we'll see where the 7-foot god goes to today with the draft lottery. I think it just starts at 8. They're gonna be picking, man. So nonetheless, we'll have a little draft order, see who wins the lottery, man. Because there's some gold at the top. Some are calling him the best prospect to ever come to the draft. We'll see, man. Better career than KD. I mean, KD was the OG before, so we'll see, man. Episode 41, Goal2Go, TikTok, Goal2Go Pod, YouTube, Goal2Go. Any last comments, concerns, anything you want to get off your chest?
No, it should be a fun week of conference championship basketball, man.
Should be a fun week. Indeed, man. Well, until next week, man, go Heats and appreciate y'all, man. Peace.